Welcome to Storm Tracker, your eye on the storm of your Carolina Hurricanes, and your home for the best insight and analysis to keep you totally informed on what's happening with the Canes. Whether it's the latest news on the ice or off the ice, we've got you covered. Now let's begin. Here's your host, Tom Ray.
Well, Chicago Wolves continue their solid run, going 7-2-1 in their last 10 games, cementing their position in second place in the Central Division. Wolves forward Felix Unger Sorum has been on a torrid pace, with strong support from offensive juggernauts Justin Robidas and Bradley Nadeau. Joining me to talk about the recent run of the Wolves and what to expect in the coming days, I'm delighted to welcome in a very special guest, the head coach of the Chicago Wolves, Spiros Anastas. Howdy, Spiros.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, it's great that you can spend time with us. The Wolves have been playing great, so it'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. And unfortunately, Andrew Rinaldi, who would have joined us tonight, he's our Storm Tracker Chicago Wolves insider, a little bit under the weather. So we'll wish him to get well soon, and we'll carry on as best we can. So
that's right.
Wanted to open up actually with an interesting topic, and that was the Olympics that just ended up. The Olympic hockey was quite exciting. Obviously, ended up in a very incredible game with Team USA winning. I just wondered what your thoughts as you watched some of this hockey. What were you thinking with the Olympic Games?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome to see the best on best again at that level of hockey with those kinds of stakes at hand. I know we got a taste of it last year with the Four Nations tournament, but
right.
There were a number of really good players that were excluded from that. When you think of some of our organization's own, like Freddie Anderson and Nick Ehlers, them getting the opportunity to play at that level, even if their teams weren't highly touted to medal or make it to a gold medal game. It was just great to see those near upsets, those lower teams pushing those higher end teams, because it really made every game mean something. So it was incredible hockey to watch and really exciting. And when it comes down to the final, I thought it was just a tremendous game. And although I'm Canadian and I would have loved to see my home country win, I thought that game itself was very good for the sport. It was good for hockey. You'll see the effects and the trickle effects of that game for the next 20 to 30 years. And that might sound crazy to some people, but it's really true. And I'm excited to see how it sparks growth in the United States, and the participation levels going up just because of one single, 65-minute hockey game.
So international hockey, and I thought this would be an interesting segue for you, Spiros. You've actually coached in some incredible places in your career. You've had quite a fun time, I think, in places like Estonia and Serbia and China and Greece. Man, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, those are some of the best coaching experiences I've had in my life, and they've been really beneficial for me because they've really stretched my, my learning in how to communicate with different people, different backgrounds, different, learning methods and different languages.
Wow.
Really having to be clear in your communication, in your teaching, especially when you're speaking to someone that actually doesn't understand what you're saying, and having to work through an interpreter or just work through video and visuals. So it's been really great for me as a coach. I first got involved in the international scene because when I was an assistant coach with Grand Rapids, the other assistant there was Jimmy Pack. Okay. And he and I left the Grand Rapids Griffins at the same time. I left for my first head coaching job at the University of Lethbridge, and he left to take the 4-year project of the Korean national team because they were going to be playing in the Olympics in 2018. And at my wedding that summer, he actually started asking me some questions about how long the Canadian university season would go, what my availability in the spring would be like. And then when I told him, hey, like, the seasons are pretty short in Canadian University, he asked then if I was willing to help him on his 4-year journey with the Koreans. So he named me the head coach of the U18 team, and I was assistant along with another former NHLer, Richard Park, on the men's team.
Yeah.
So the original plan was for me to kind of see that through for the 4 years, but 2 years into that project, my wife and I started having a family.
Oh, nice.
And it was very difficult for me to be away for 11, 12 weeks at a time. So unfortunately, I had to remove myself from that project. But when you are working the IHF and those subdivisions, Division 1A, 1B, D2A, you start to meet the other delegates of all the other countries. So that was kind of where it kind of kicked off for me in meeting the president of Estonia when I won the gold medal of a D2A U18 tournament in Estonia. So, then as soon as those organizations or those federations start to need coaches, you're kind of in the Rolodex a little bit. So through the years, I've been fortunate that in different jobs, I've been able to make the schedules work. So like I mentioned, the Canadian University, my springs and summers were wide open. And then eventually when I was scouting with the Winnipeg Jets, I had some time to kind of make my own schedule. So that's when I got involved with Serbia and China. So they've been fantastic opportunities, great hockey all over the world, even in some countries that you kind of wouldn't be aware of. And also I've gotten to see the world, right? And make long-lasting friends around the globe. So really great life experiences for me on top of hockey experiences.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that really jumped out at me. I thought, man, it'd be great to go and spend time in those countries and enjoy them as well. Interesting. You mentioned University of Lethbridge. I lived in Alberta for several years, Calgary for a period, and Edmonton for a period as well. So I was kind of interested in that. And you also coached Team Alberta at one point. What was that about?
Lethbridge was great. It was a great 4 years of my life. It was perfect timing for my family to kind of grow together. Schedule was nice. You only play kind of Friday, Saturdays, and it's a short, university season for the most part. Yeah. So we really enjoyed our 4 years there. I ended up there because my previous job in Grand Rapids, Mike Babcock and Bill Peters were actually on the Detroit Red Wings staff, and they both kind of kicked off their careers at the University of Lethbridge as well. So that was kind of the connection, how I landed that job as a young 29-year-old coach trying to get his first head coaching opportunity. The Team Alberta thing was a fantastic experience. They do a great job there. They have a provincial tournament with the 4 Western provinces from British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. They call it the WHL Cup. And all those teams are stacked with newly drafted WHL players, so a bunch of 15-year-olds. And I was fortunate to be asked to coach that team. I coached it for 2 years, and I got to coach a lot of future NHLers. When you look back and look at those 15-year-olds and how many of them made it to the NHL, it's quite fascinating. You know, guys like Jake Neighbors and Peyton Krebs and Jake Sanderson, who's a Team USA guy now, but he was a dual Canadian, and he was a Team Alberta guy, and the guys who are still prospects. I actually coached Ronan Seeley on the 2002 team, and Sebastian Cosa, who we see quite often here in the Central Division. So really cool experience, and got to do that at the same time as coaching the University of Lethbridge. So yeah, really, really great to see those guys and how far they've come.
Man, that's amazing. You've had some incredible experiences, that's for sure, and great preparation for your role currently with the Wolves. Let's shift gears and talk about the Wolves. Things going well. The last 16 games, you're 11-2-2-1, so you're doing very, very well. Good weekend last weekend. You won 2 of 3 and lost the other one in overtime to Grand Rapids, who of course are the juggernaut. And we'll talk a little bit about Grand Rapids as we go. Sitting very strongly in second place and well ahead of Texas. And you beat up on Texas on the weekend, so it's great. You're 11 points ahead of those guys. How are you enjoying being a head coach now?
It's going really well. As you mentioned, our record has been really good, but more importantly, the teaching and development has been a lot of fun. To see the strides and leaps that these guys have taken in just a couple months, since the transition has been incredible. You talk about the offensive juggernauts like Bradley Nadeau and Justin Robidas, and the emergence of a guy like Felix Unger Sorum.
Right.
Just in the last 2 months alone, like they've taken bounds ahead of where they were, and it's been a real big reason for our success. But really fortunate to be able to work with such a great group of players. We have such a solid group of men in that room that really plays for each other, and of course we have one of the best staffs in the American Hockey League, I think, from our strength and conditioning to our equipment to our athletic training, and right into our coach's office with Dan Price and Zach Richards. I'm just very kind of blessed to be the guy that is kind of the at the forefront of it all. But it's such a cumulative process that I couldn't ask for a better situation. It's actually, I'm surprised at how great it's been going, and we're really happy for these guys that they're showcasing themselves that way.
No, I think it's fantastic. And one of the things that I've really seen and noticed has been that, when players are called up to the Canes, they don't miss a beat. They seem to fit right in. They obviously they know the systems and so on. What are you doing behind the scenes to get these players ready so that when the Canes call, they can just jump right in?
Yeah, so that's a very long process. So immediately, day to day, obviously we tried to emulate the Canes systems and run what they run, because we want it to be pretty seamless and want them to get those repetitions and know exactly what the expectations of the coaching staff in Carolina are. And that's not, it's not atypical in the American League, but not every American League team does that. Okay. Some teams have free reign to run their team the way they want to. So our organization thinks it's important to be streamlined. Obviously, we're in constant communication with management and the coaching staff in Carolina. We grade these guys. We report on these guys. We have development calls where everyone's getting constant updates. But really, the work happens as early as July. Okay. We have development camps. We have coaches meetings. We have training camp, and that's where kind of the foundation is always set, in my opinion, whether it's through work with our development staff, like guys like Peter Harold and Daniel Bachner and Jason Mazzotti, our development goalie coach, or whether it's actually getting those touches, those hands-on touches with the Carolina coaching staff in the beginning of training camp with, Rod, Tim, and Jeff there. So, that's all part of it. And when there's that streamlined development and that constant communication, that really leads to that ease in transition when they go from the American League to the NHL. And it's not to downplay how difficult it is to make that jump, but right. The more you can prepare them and the more you can make them over ready for that opportunity where things are a little bit more second nature or muscle memory rather than learning on the fly, the better their chances of finding success. So it really is a team effort from top to bottom, but we're happy every time those guys get that opportunity. We're happy to be a real small part of it, and we're proud of them.
Yeah, and you should be, because folks that have gone up can definitely hang their heads high and compete very favorably against their teammates or the opposition, because they're playing very, very well. Okay, so let's talk about some of the players, and I thought we'd start with the Fab Four, as I like to call them. And you can't start talking about the Fab Four without mentioning the show, Bradley Nadeau. So Bradley, he's really done it all. Like he was the AHL Player of the Week twice. He was AHL Player of the Month in January. He was an all-star. He shot the puck 103 miles an hour, which is incredible at the games. So he's doing it all. What can you tell us about Bradley Nadeau?
Well, I can tell you he's addicted to the game. His work ethic is unmatched, and his desire to continue to get better every day is inspiring, because we're really big on load management and the science behind it, and making sure these guys are primed and ready to compete at their optimal energy levels and performance levels. So he's a guy that you literally have to peel off the ice, because he'd be out there for 2-3 hours a day, working on his shot, working on small area skills, his passing, his board work. And that you love that about him, because you'd rather have to reel somebody back from that stuff than push them. And get them to work harder. So, we have some friendly bouts in terms of how many minutes he can stay on the ice, and days that I allow him to do extra, and days that I pull him off. But he's a real competitor, and he and Justin Robidas together, they really push each other. They live together, they work together, they just push each other in every little facet of the game and the development and the growth of their games. But Bradley, I think the biggest step he's taken this year is his physicality and his ability to diversify his offensive threats. Last year he scored 32 goals, and that's unbelievable for an under 20 rookie in the American Hockey League.
Yes.
But I would wager to say that about 25 plus of those goals were from a standstill. Like his feet were planted, and he one-timed it, and which is great. That's a lethal weapon and a huge asset for him. But now coming to year 2, teams start to shade him more on their penalty kills when to his side in the power plays. They're taking away his opportunities. They're anticipating him a little bit more because they're familiar with his game, and he's really been stretched and forced to find other ways to create offense. So now he's creating a lot more off the rush, creating a lot more out of the offensive zone play, out of the corners, or going east-west behind the net, finding other avenues to create offense on the power play, whether it's rolling over top. And Dan Price does a phenomenal job in running that power play, opening up those different options or opening up different decoys or different pass lanes for Brad, because we know the other teams are starting to try and take away his one-timer shot. So it's been a huge step for him, his ability to kind of diversify his offense. The other one is just his physicality. His ability to play on the inside, get inside hips and hands of opposing players, his forechecking ability. Like, he's got some grit to him this year that you could see flashes of it last year. But again, he was a 19-year-old kid, and he's still young. He's still 20, but a full year of confidence under your belt really does a lot for you in your development. So, he gets inside, he checks guys, he gives guys the business after whistles, he draws penalties. We've made him into one of our top penalty killers this year.
That's exciting.
So he's really expanded his toolkit, and to me, he's a guy that can play any role. Obviously, he's a top 6 guy, but he can do anything you ask him, is because he's put in the work and we've given him those opportunities. So he's grown immensely this year, and it's exciting to see.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the starting to become more aggressive in the hitting side, because I've talked about that a lot on our podcasts, where even in like when he was up for his call up and during exhibition time, he was the guy going in and hitting guys and trying to get in on the forecheck and making it happen. And you could see quite a difference with him for sure. A lot more confidence, a lot, definitely. And of course, his defensive game has come a long ways, a plus 23 this year. So he's turned it around almost 50. I think he was minus 25 or something last year. So that's an incredible story. And, you mentioned Justin Robidas. Robidas had a streak going at one point, a 19-game stretch, 16 goals and 11 assists during that period. It was ridiculous. He was off the charts. Everything he touched seemed to turn to gold, and he was an all-star as well. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's just he's really wise beyond his years. He's a really true professional. Obviously, he's got the pedigree. His father had been there, and he grew up watching what it takes, whether it's through his father or the people he was around in those locker rooms in those cities. But he brings a professional approach in everything he does, like from his nutrition to his recovery, to his stretching, his mobility, and also that additional work after practice. Another guy you got to peel off the ice, because he wants to continue to get better in every facet of the game. He's real versatile for us because, he played, for the most part, he played down the middle last year, and now he's been on the wing this year, but I can guarantee he takes more faceoffs than any winger in the league. And he's really great. He plays both power play and penalty kill as well. He's actually paired with Bradley on the penalty kill, and he gives us a really strong option on any right side faceoffs, and he's very good at them as well. So he just constantly demands more from himself, which in a way also commands respect and more from his teammates. So he's just a natural leader. We slapped an A on his chest this year. And he's a young captain in the league. There's not too many guys that are of his age that wear a letter. But he leads by example. He holds himself accountable. He holds his teammates accountable, and he's a really great pro. But yeah, he went on a crazy stretch there, and it was just simplifying their game. Like they played probably the best month of their careers by just doing the little things right. Great puck deposits and driving the net and all those cliche things. They just kind of bought in. And now you see our whole team has followed along, and that's where we're getting these string of wins.
That's fantastic.
And it takes time. As simple as it sounds, it takes time for a young guy to realize that the game doesn't need to be complicated. Do everything you can, like play that 200-foot game to get into those opportunities to create offense, and then let your skill and imagination take over. But you got to get through your D zone exits, through the neutral zone, into your forecheck to establish that, to be able to create those opportunities. Because if you're making it up from your zone through the neutral zone, you're often going to be chasing the game. So that's clicked for them, and it's pulled the rest of our team with them. So they're definitely two young leaders. One wears a letter, one doesn't, but they're both leaders in our room, and it's exciting to see.
Well, and every time I've seen him up with the Canes, I've been impressed with Justin Robidas. He's just out there. He's a buzzsaw. He's making something happen. He's taking it to the next level. I mean, last year he had 55 points in 70 games. This year he's got 47 in 45 games. Right. He's 10th in the AHL in scoring. He's got a plus 25. This guy, to me, he can do it all. And, Nick Bass recently said something on one of our podcasts and said, if he was 5'11", he's in the NHL today. So, it's he's going to get there anyway. I'm a very strong believer in Justin Robidas, and I think he's going to be a great one. Now, another one of the Fab Four that created so much excitement a few years ago at training camp for the Canes, and that was Felix Unger Sorum. Now, that was as an 18-year-old. He came over. He almost made the Canes. It was incredible. Last year, kind of a tough year for him. He played center a little bit, and that didn't work out so well. And I understand why the Canes wanted to look at him at center. He sees the ice so darn well. This year, it's a different story. And, boy, he's really flying right now.
Yeah, it's been a huge step for him. The biggest thing for him is he came in a lot stronger, a lot heavier. And it was a real big learning season last year for him. He got 20 points as a 19-year-old, and it's easy to look at Bradley Nadeau and then look at Felix Unger Sorum and think, well, one had a great year, one didn't. But, I don't know too many 19-year-olds that can come into the American Hockey League and get even 20 points, right? And play a position that he was still learning and a little bit uncomfortable with. So, it wasn't – I wouldn't say it was a failure of a rookie season. And you could just see his hockey IQ was there. You just knew that some things off the ice had to catch up to his brain. One being his body, and the onus was on him too. Putting on the muscle mass, following the program, but also learning about nutrition, learning about rest, learning about recovery, and we have such a great staff. Like our strength and conditioning staff and our nutrition staff from throughout the whole organization. We got Kristen, who's a nutritionist in Carolina. We got Bill Burniston. Bill Burniston is the head strength and conditioning coach for the organization. Yes. Last year we had Jake Nitschke here with us in Chicago. He's now the head guy with the Buffalo Sabres, and we replaced him with Jack Rinzel. So the amount of professionals and great people that have been around guys like Felix have given him every tool, and he's taken that upon himself to make himself ready for the 25-26 season, and it shows. He's heavier, he's stronger. Yeah. His IQ now is elevated because he's able to protect pucks, and I'd say he's one of the best in the league. His ability to protect pucks but still have the vision to know where all four of his other teammates are on the ice and be able to make plays. It's elite level stuff. So that's been the biggest reason why he's found that success this year. He's more confident in his shot, more confident in his playmaking ability, but also same thing. Like he's also learned how to keep a lot of aspects of the game a lot simpler. His wall play on exits out of the D zone it's still a work in progress, but they've gotten better. The work that Dan does with those forwards in those small areas of the game bringing them video, showing them real life examples from NHL players, and what it looks like to be, able to execute at that level, gets those guys kind of assimilated to the way we want to play, right? So Felix has been a great learner, and he's kind of exploded, and you see now, like he's one of the tops in the league in assists, and it's because his vision now it was always there, but now he's able to use it more because he's taking care of his body, and he's taking the right steps in the other parts of the game.
Well, for sure. I mean, he's got 19 assists his last 17 games, so he's definitely busy setting up players. But, earlier in the year, and we talked a little bit about this on a podcast, he did have some success on the power play, scoring some goals. So he went through a stretch. I think he scored 5 or 6 power play goals and was really making a difference. And that was exciting to see because, it's great. We know he definitely is an incredible, setup guy. He can see the ice so darn well. And, if he can add a few goals to the mix, he's golden. But he's really brought himself back into the conversation for sure. And we're ecstatic because a lot of us really were impressed with Felix when we first saw him. So it's good. Wrapping up the Fab Four, we're going to move to the blue line. And a gentleman I talk about all the time, and people get kind of tired of me talking about Dom, but Domenick Fensore, who I just really love the way he plays. What are you seeing with Dom these days?
Yeah, I mean, I've loved working with Dom over the last 2 seasons. I have a lot of belief in him. It was really great through the year last year to see his growth and his confidence develop, and him to get his first opportunity at the end of last season in the NHL was really special.
Yeah.
It's no secret. There's a lot of people that have, held the one thing he can't change that gets held against him, but he's an ultimate competitor, and he's a guy that I would choose to go to war with on any day because he doesn't shy away from anybody. He plays as big as if he were to stretch his stick over his head, he plays as tall as that. And he knows his disadvantages, but he finds a way to make that his advantage. So he's incredible. He's really dynamic. He does everything for us, and he's really great at unloading pucks. Like obviously we have matches with our D pairs on who we want them to play against from the other team, but a big part of our matching is also who they're playing with on our team. So a lot of times, between Dan Price and myself, we're trying to find the right matches where we have an advantage over our opponent, but at the same time, like I'm getting Dom Fensore out with Ryan Suzuki, Bradley Nadeau, and Justin Robidas as much as possible because he's so great at unloading pucks and facilitating and distributing that those are the players we want him distributing to. And when they connect, it's like when they're really vibing, it's kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters out there, right? So. And you see some shifts, and it's like they know where they're going to be, and they're all really good friends, and they all, are connected off the ice too, which does translate onto the ice. Yeah. And it's just amazing. So yeah, he's been a real key cog to our success and the offense that we can create, especially 5-on-5, because he can really, really advance the puck to the guys that we want the puck on their stick for.
I remember I did a piece when he was back at Boston. College, is it university or college?
Boston University.
Boston
don't mess those up. Don't mess those up.
I better get that right. Yeah, Boston.
You'll get 2 people after you. You get Dom Fensore after you, and Peter Harold, our director of player development, who's from he's a Boston College guy. So
yeah, Boston U. I thought it was. Yeah. And I saw some of the play that he did there, and I thought, man, this guy is off the charts. Like he was just incredible, right? And he was captain of the team at the end and so on. And he was a Hobie Baker nominee as well. So, I mean, we knew that he had the pedigree, and I've just been thrilled with Dom. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about reinforcements. So you've had an interesting season. You've had players coming and going for injury. You've had, some call-ups. You've had all kinds of different things happening. But some moves were made. So back in December, Cal Foote was added to shore up the blue line. Cal, of course, former first rounder with Tampa Bay, so he brought in some pedigree. Big fellow, he's at 6'3" and over 200 pounds. And then you got Juuso Välimäki last month, which was great, and the Canes made a deal to pick him up. And again, he's another first rounder, so good pedigree. He's a big player. He's over 6'1", 200 pounds, and he's been off to a good start. These guys bring the veteran support you need. What are you seeing from those two guys? How do you feel they've done?
Yeah, they've done a great job, and that's exactly it. Like anytime you can bring that NHL experience into a young blue decor, it really kind of fortifies your blue line a little bit there. And they're different players. One's a little bit more dynamic, offensive. Right. Somebody who really likes to skate the puck. The other one's more of a shutdown defenseman, real hard at the net. And just keeps things as simple as possible. So when you can have two veterans that kind of bring two different elements, it really helps develop the very different prospects you have on the decor as well. Because we have guys that are more Cal Foote style players, and we have guys that are more Juuso Välimäki style players. So it's really great that we kind of fill those two columns with two veterans that can kind of shepherd these young guys and show them what it's like. And anytime, like I said, anytime you had a veteran like that, they've been to the mountaintop. They want to get back. They have some experiences. They made mistakes as rookies, and they can share that wisdom with our rookies, with our prospects. Yeah. And, it's a really big piece of development. You see some American League teams heavily invest in that veteran presence. We don't have too many, but those guys are making a big impact on our young defensemen. Yeah. So they've been great. Juuso has really kind of revitalized our first power play unit. Right. Adding him on a unit with Bradley Nadeau, Ryan Suzuki, Justin Robidas, and Felix Unger Sorum, it just provides somebody that can really just keep things stabilized. And when he speaks, they listen. Right? It's not just five young guys running around and just throwing ideas. Dan Price does a great job. He gives them the skeleton, he gives them the plan, he gives them the pre-scouts. But when you have a guy like Juuso Välimäki on the ice, when he sees different openings or has different ideas, or just needs to reaffirm the plan, like, guys, this is how we're supposed to be doing it. This is what we were shown. They just tend to listen to him. It's a really big boost. And you see our power play lately, that unit specifically has really taken off. And Cal just brings that huge, big presence, like in crunch time scenarios, 5 versus 6 in the last 2 minutes of the game, or a big penalty kill, or a 5-on-3 penalty kill. Just his sheer size gives us an advantage. And we were missing that with the loss of Charles Legault for a long while. Right. So it was great to kind of to supplement that with Cal. And now, we're healthier. We have such an advantage in the ability to configure our decor any way we'd like. We can go heavier some nights. We can go faster other nights. And, we have an even balance of right shots and left shots. So we're really fortunate now that it's coming together at the right time in the last 24 games of the season leading into playoffs. So, but yeah, those two guys have been great additions for us.
No, it's exciting. And Välimäki, he's got 14 points in 17 games with the Wolves. So the big question I had about Juuso was, he came back from a serious injury, torn ACL, I think was the situation. How's he doing? Is it? Do you see any concerns with that, or does he seem to be back to 90?
Yeah, if I didn't know that he had knee surgery recently, I wouldn't have. There's nothing in his game that I'd pick out that, this guy's laboring in a certain area. So I know he's had a couple injuries through his career, but his positivity and his ability to reset himself and his ability to take every opportunity and see the positives in it. He's a great teammate, but he's just such a great guy in that sense, because it'd be very easy for a guy who was a full-time NHLer that was named to a roster in the best on best tournament last year in the Four Nations, to take this season lightly. It'd be easy for them to say, "Oh, it's an American League," but he has come in and he's been, taking it by force. Like he wants to play those big minute situations, those high stakes situations. He holds guys accountable. He holds himself accountable. In our D meetings, he speaks up and is real big part of the teaching that takes place. So he's been a great citizen, and he's doing himself a justice, because I think it'll be no time before he's back in the NHL, and he's proven he can be there. So his knee looks great. He looks great, and we're happy to have him right now.
Well, it's interesting because, you had Gavin Bayreuther, who was filling that role quite nicely. But he was traded, and the gentleman I want to talk about next came the other way, and that was Victor Nuchev. Nuchev, drafted in the third round in 2022. He actually played in the KHL as a 19-year-old, and that's kind of rare. So that's interesting. Corey Pronman said this. Corey, of course, does a lot of work on prospects for The Athletic, and he said, Nuchev doesn't have the stats and accolades of top prospects, but when you watch him, it's easy to see the NHL potential. He has great hands and shows great offensive creativity as a handler and a passer. So those are lofty words. What have you seen so far? He's played 9 games now with the Wolves. What are you seeing with Nuchev?
Yeah, so we see like a lot of potential in him. He has really great habits. I think that's really important. Now, we made the deal, and it wasn't an easy deal to make because we really loved Gavin Bayreuther, but obviously we had a lot of D, and but he played a big part in kind of ushering Domenick Fensore in. So it was tough to see him go, but it was a good situation for him, and we were able to get a piece back that in a need that we had to fill. So, but Victor. I knew him coming over that he had been coached by a very good coach in Rochester. Mike Leone is a really good friend of mine, and he's really big on habits. So I was pretty confident that we'd be getting a guy that knew the expectations of an American League forward and the habits that you need to do things right. And he showed that right away. His wall play, his ability to deposit pucks, his ability to establish forechecks. He played such a simple game his first 3-4 games that we had no choice but to elevate him up the lineup. And now you see in the last little while, you see he's creating a lot more opportunities. He scored a goal the other day on Thursday against Iowa. And he's getting a ton of chances, and he's creating a lot, and he's super slippery. Like, he is hard to defend. Like, he finds these little cracks that he can get through with the like, seems like the puck is on a string on his stick. But he picks and chooses his spots, and I think that's what we really like about him, because a lot of times those young guys that come over from Europe or from Russia, they'll try to force their skill. But like I said, he's got the habits that he gets those pucks in and finds he has that puck patience that, when the time is right, he then attacks the net or, shows his skill or flashes it. So he's got a really good shot too. I'd like to see him shoot some more. He's a little bit of a pass first kind of guy. But he's really young too. So I think we picked up a really nice asset for the organization, but one that can help us in the immediate future here in Chicago. And, he's fitting quite well. And, we have 3 other Russians on the team. And so he's got some familiarity and some guys he can speak to. But, we're happy with him. And I think he's about to break through in a big way.
Cool. And, he was moved up on that line with Felix Unger Sorum. And the other gentleman I wanted to ask you about, and that's Noah Philp. And Noah scored on the weekend, which is great. A very important goal, a winning goal. What are you seeing with Noah Philp? We didn't see a lot of him with the Canes, so we're trying to get a sense as to what did the Canes acquire with Noah.
Yeah, he's just a really good two-way center. He's got some good size and length. He's really good on the draw. He's responsible defensively, and he can provide some really good secondary offense. And he opens up some space for guys like Nuchev and guys like Unger Sorum, and he has no problem being at the net. And when you have guys as cerebral as Nuchev and Unger Sorum, they can figure out exactly what a guy like Philp's going to do. So, you look at our game-winning goal against Texas on Saturday, It was, Felix takes the puck around the net, and it's almost like he knew that's where Phil's going to be reporting to. He's going to be reporting to the backside of that net, and he put it right on his tape. First whack didn't go in, but then he roofed the second one. And that's what the advantage of having a guy like that play with such skill and cerebral players. But he plays a good 200-foot game. What I love about him the most in this short sample is the accountability. He looks to himself first for solutions and for answers and, for reasons of why, a chance against might have happened or a goal against might have happened or what could he have done to prevent it. He actually cost us a goal against Texas the other day. Literally tape-to-tape pass that went into the back of our net. And I loved it. He came to the bench and he said, "Guys, I owe you one." And did he ever repay his team in a big way? But no excuses, no hanging his head. He just went out and won his next shift. And then later in the game was, the ultimate payoff in a game-winning goal. So love that about him. And what I'm really excited for is to see him actually hit his peak this year because he'd only played 17 games before coming to us. He played 15 in Edmonton. He suffered an injury there.
Right.
Played two in Carolina, suffered another injury. I don't think he played a single back-to-back in those 17 games. Okay. So now he gets to the American League, and it is a different pace. Sometimes it's harder to play in the American League than it is the NHL. Plus, now there's some back-to-backs. So he's been fighting through it, and I love his resolve in fighting through it. But he hasn't yet hit his peak. So when he does, it's going to be a pretty dangerous addition for us. And that line, Nuchev, Philp, and Unger Sorum, I think can really take some of our opponents by storm there. So I'm excited for it. But super good guy and a new father. Recently just had his first baby.
Exciting.
Over the All-Star break, the American League All-Star break he did. So he's got that new dad glow right now, and he's playing with a little extra incentive. So it's great.
He'll be looking for the road trips to get some sleep and all that. For sure. Well, that's exciting. And when Noah was picked up from the Oilers, I thought he was a good ad. He's a right shot guy, good in the faceoff dot, and certainly can add a lot to the Canes as well. So I would not be surprised to see him back up at some point too. A couple of other guys that are back, just wanted to mention them because we're excited about it, and I'm sure you're going nuts because, hey, welcome back, Yoel Nystrom from the Canes and Charles Alexis Legault from injury. Boy, that's two outstanding D-men. So that's good news for you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's actually, the last 2 weeks has been, you're coming up on trade deadline, and we didn't so much make trades, but the additions we've made, between Noah Philp and, okay, we made a trade for Victor Nuchev, but Noah Philp, Yoel Nystrom, Charles Alexis Legault, and even Giovanni Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just and the different kinds of players, from big and physical to small and skilled to shut down D to an offensive type D. So it's been great additions, but we're really happy to have those two back on the D core. Obviously, it complicates some things. Now you got a lot of guys, right? And you got to share the pie a little bit. And but like I mentioned earlier in one of the previous questions, we have the ability to configure our lineup based on our opponent. We have 24 games, so there is some body management that we have the luxury to potentially do, so we can be primed for the playoff push and the Calder Cup run.
Yes.
But Nystrom has had quite a season for himself, a little bit of a surprising one. Obviously Charles was called up first and Charles gets injured and then Nystrom gets his opportunity and he does really well. It's been challenging for him at times too. It's easy to look at him and be like, wow, what a season. It must be exciting. Yes. But, he always came down to us in pockets. And a lot of times, like I just mentioned, talking about Noah Philp, the American League is harder than the National Hockey League in some ways. The National Hockey League, things are a little bit more predictable. You're playing with better players. You're playing against a lot more different opponents on a nightly basis. Where here things get more physical. You're playing sometimes teams like for Texas, for instance, we play 7 times in the next 5 weeks.
Oh man!
You play against teams like Milwaukee. You play them 12 times in a year. It's a different game, and when you're not here for extended periods of time, it can be challenging. So Yoel has his faceoffs challenge this year, but now that he's been here for a little bit longer, his game is starting to come around at the American League level. So just a very intelligent player. We like to call him a low event player. And those are some of his best games when you don't notice him. He just does his job, gets pucks out, gets pucks in. And then occasionally he'll just pop up with a scoring opportunity, like he run one off the crossbar last game. But he's low event, but that's what you need sometimes, kind of like a neutralizer, right? And, he's paired really well with Ronan Seeley the last few games. They really read off each other well. So he's been a great add. And then Charles, reacquainting him and reuniting him with Domenick Fensore. That was our best D pair last year.
Beautiful.
And they really complement each other and they fill each other's gaps. And he's such a great skater with a big body that he closes on the opposition so quickly. He just suffocates teams. So it's great to have him back. His hand is feeling good. He played the first 2 games of the 3-3 this week. We didn't think it was necessary to push him through 3-3 in his first 3 games in a while. So, obviously we scratched him against Texas, but he's excited to be back and he's a big addition for us. And again, adds another big body for us. Yeah. So, there's opponents where we need to go big on the right side. We have, Legault, Foote, and Badinka, or there's opponents that we need a little bit more speed, to facilitate pucks. And then you got guys like Nystrom and Heimosalmi. We have a lot of tools. We have the luxury of a lot of options right now. So while there's some hard decisions to make and sometimes hard conversations, you'd rather be in that boat than in one where you don't have any
trying
options.
To find out where you're getting your next defenseman from the gargoyles.
Yeah. Exactly. And we've been there this year and we succeeded.
I think Doyle came up and you've had other guys come up as well.
Yeah, obviously Bryce Montgomery did really well for us. And then we had Braden Doyle on a PTO who filled every minute he could get. So, that's the American Hockey League. So,
Hey, Bryce Montgomery's got some big fans in the Caniac world. He impressed a lot in the prospect showcases and so on. Big man that can skate. I really liked what he was doing, but he seems to be settling in the ECHL. He just can't seem to crack in.
You know what? He played 22 games this year compared to 5 last year, and everybody's path is different. So I wouldn't count Bryce Montgomery out ever. He's a competitor. So I'm happy to hear that people are noticing.
No, I'm sure. Hey, a couple of minutes on unsung heroes, because sometimes there's folks we don't talk about much. One of the folks that I really like is Skylar Brindamore. And Skylar, he's a little older. He's a lot of folks think he's past the window to get into the National Hockey League, but I've talked about him a lot this year. I think he's obviously added a bit of an offensive spin. So he's kind of like Jordan Staal, who's been revitalized offensively with the Canes. So it's kind of fun. And I see him as a Jordan Staal-like guy on your team. What's going on with Skylar?
Yeah, that's a really good player comp for the American League level. He's big. He's great on faceoffs. He forechecks hard. He's a great net front presence. He's a second power play unit guy. So yeah, Skylar's he's great. Obviously, he's got the pedigree. We know where that comes from. And he's a real good, quiet pro. Not very loud. Just kind of minds his business. But he's just a guy that we can really count on for big time matches.
Right.
They post our lineup on social media all the time, and they're listed consistently as the third line. Yeah. Between him, Slavin on his left and Newell Gunler on his right. But
correct.
I mean, we put them up against first lines, second lines. Like, they're getting top 6 matches a lot of nights, and he always steps up to that task and that challenge with his line mates. The biggest thing, when the coaching change happened here, I sat down with him. It was actually on the bus, and that's not typically where I like to have individual video meetings. But we were just trying to get all the touches. So I sat next to him on the bus and I showed him some clips and just some areas where he could use and leverage his body a lot more.
Right. Okay.
Where he could be a little bit more physical, where he could, gain advantages against his opponents. And from that point on, he really is dialed into it. And it's made a huge difference. Like, they're one of the best forechecking lines in the league, I think, and he's a big part of that.
Yeah.
And they're really hard to play against. And on top of that, he's well over 55% at the faceoff dot on any given night. So that's obviously anytime you can start with the puck on your stick, it's an advantage. And he's also one of our best penalty killers. So he's just a kind of do anything for the team type of guy, and a quiet leader, but someone that I think easily could play fourth line minutes in the NHL, with the right opportunity. So you never know. I don't believe in the whole too old to make it. He's striving to get there, and he's doing all the right things. So we're really impressed with the steps he's taken this year.
Yeah, and I've talked about many times with the crew. We've talked about the similarity of your line with Skylar and Josiah, and of course it's Jordan Martinook and Jordan Stahl, and we see a lot of similarities in the way those two lines operate and the kind of role they play. And just like you're saying with Skylar going up against the top lines, of course Jordan Stahl's line does too. So another member on that line who doesn't get a lot of attention is Noel Gunler. Noel was a second-round pick. Boy, there was a lot of folks who were really excited about Noel when he was drafted. He was 6'2". He was a bigger player, really looked the part. And so far, it's kind of been a mixed go from what I've seen. How's he doing this year?
I mean, he's doing great. We've been really impressed with where his game has gone in the last little while, especially over the last couple months. He's really bought into other parts of his game that he needed to improve on in terms of his defensive side of his game, his ability to value pucks and make good puck decisions and manage the game with those decisions. Obviously, we know his strength. His strength is his shot. You look at the offensive production of guys like Skylar Brindamore and Josiah Slavin. Well, playing with a guy that can score on one shot definitely helps that. And you saw that in the dying seconds of the first period in our last game.
The other night,
it was really an eventful game because we're referencing it quite a bit. But
blocked out and he put it in.
So like he can shoot, and but it's just taken him a little while to figure out how to be a really good American leaguer. And we think he's turned the corner with that this season. He plays with a little bit more urgency. He plays hard on the forecheck. He back checks, extremely hard. Like I think we finally have gotten to him between, some conversations we've had to him just maturing, him taking on the identity of the line mates he's been playing with, the work that Dan Price has done with him, in skill sessions, video sessions. He's just really come to his own right now, and he's starting to be really valuable in a lot of areas where before it was, well, if Gunny doesn't score, then what is he doing? Yeah. But now he doesn't necessarily have to score to bring value. Like, we think he's one of our best one-on-one defenders right now. He's so great at containing players to the outside, at winning little puck battles. He's really, that line has become one of our best forechecking lines. He's part of that. So now he's bringing value. So he's found ways to bring value all the time. Cool. And I think, there's still lots of opportunity for him to, prove himself, but maybe it's changed. Maybe it's not the top six scorer. Maybe he finds his way as a bottom six secondary offense guy that does things right.
And finds a new role. Yeah.
Me personally, but I know my staff feels the same. Like, we don't give up on players. I know it's easy for fans and sometimes organizations too, to move on, but all these guys are here for a reason, and it's our job to get the best out of them. And I think we're getting there with a lot of these guys, including Gunny. Nice.
And one more I'll throw out at you, and he's not really in the mix from the Hurricanes side, and he was a Chicago signing and a player that kind of flew under the radar. Had played with the Barrie Colts, had a pretty good season, 95-point season with them in 22-23, and I'm from Barrie, so I thought that was great. I thought that was kind of cool. And that's Evan Bierling, fifth rounder in 2020 with the Rangers. He's done some great stuff this year. What's going on with Evan?
Yeah, he's been real great for us. He was a nice surprise for our staff, dating all the way back to rookie tournament. We really liked what he brought, the versatility in his game. His knack around the net was real huge. If you look at his, I don't know if he's got 12, 13 goals. I'd say almost all of them are within a foot of the net, just around the crease. He's just really smart and great at anticipating where the puck's going to be and just finishing there. Puck gets on his stick, he's able to put it away. He's been a big part of Felix Unger Sorum's success this year too, because a large part of the season, Felix's line mates were Evan Vierling and Nikita Pavlichev. So real big part of that. And now with the more depth we've had, we've been able to, put him in a different role with Nikita, where they should be able to dominate, third and fourth lines of other teams. So he's been a great teammate, nice surprise, a nice kind of diamond in the rough for us. But the pedigree's always been there. Like you said, he was really successful in the Ontario Hockey League. He was a draft pick by the New York Rangers.
Yes.
Some of these guys suffered through, that year and a half, 2 years of COVID, and may have missed out on those early career opportunities, right? And then he had a couple of injuries, and then he found himself in the ECHL. Yes. So it was a great find by our management, and he's really made everything and the best of the opportunity he's been given this year. And now he's a solid piece of our lineup. So, we're really excited that we found him. But he showed it from early on. And almost like he refused to go back to the ECHL. And we love that. We love that in him.
Well, that's good stuff. And now that you've got Victor Nuchev and Noah Philp moved up to that second line with, or whatever line you want to call it, with Felix Unger Sorum, you've now got a couple of great guys on your fourth line, because you've got Nikita and of course Evan Vierling. So you've got to be really excited about. Wow, this is getting better by the minute.
Yeah, when 2/3 of your second line moves down the lineup a little bit and gives you that depth and gives you that versatility too, because who knows? There's going to be games where Nuchev's not going or Philp's not going. Now you got guys that you can move up and down, and
exactly.
Since the change, I've remained as running the defense, and Dan still runs the offense, and we talk and we plan and we scheme and we take a lot of pride in it, but we also joke around about it a lot too. But it's a big part of our game, and having that flexibility, is real critical, especially if you're going to be making a run deep into the season. So, anytime you can look at your fourth line and be like, man, that's a second line caliber group, you're in a good spot.
Well, and now it's going to get even more crowded because, of course, Giovanni Smith's back, and you've got Yannick Turcotte. You love to have him in there because he'll lay a beating on some people just to keep things moving along. And I wanted to ask you while we're doing this is what's up with Juha Jaska?
He's been battling an injury all year. It's just been up and down. Obviously, there's some things I can comment on and some things I can't, just for the sake of privacy. But our medical staff, both in Carolina and Chicago, has done a really good job with him, and he's been close. And then sometimes it's a step forward and a step back. I know there's still some hope that he gets in at some point this year, but it's an ongoing process. Unfortunately, it's been a tough season for him mentally as well, because all these guys are competitors and they want to play. But we got to at the same time make sure that you don't make anything worse, right? So that's all I can really say on that for the time being.
Well, I just wondered if he was close or what's going on.
Unfortunately, there's been times we thought he was close and times that we thought he's quite far away. So it's one of those. It's in an area that is it's tough to tell, unfortunately. So it's But what I can say with confidence is everyone's doing the absolute best work possible for him.
Well, he's a great guy. And last year, of course, he patrolled wing on that top line with Ryan Suzuki and Bradley Nadeau at different times. So he would bring a tremendous amount. And I loved his play with the Canes. Just really out there making things happen. And you never were concerned if Juha Jaska was on the ice. He was great.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of minutes on young studs. Ivan Ryabkin played 25 games with you guys. He's tearing up the Quebec Major Junior League with Charlottetown. No surprise. He's got 21 points in 11 games. Yep. He's gonna destroy that. He did the same thing in Muskegon last year. What did you see with him when he was with the Wolves?
Well, the biggest thing we saw with him is just fearlessness.
Okay.
As an 18-year-old in this league, and there's not many 18-year-olds that play in this league, especially ones that, played the kind of role that he did. Like, he was very physical. He was fearless. He was almost naive in a good way, because there were guys he'd go up against, and in the back of your mind, you're sitting there being like, that's not the guy, Ivan. Like, but he never backed down. So we really love that in him. Obviously, there was a lot of development ahead of him as a young guy. Right. Similar things that we talked about with Felix and Bradley, like just kind of diversifying their games a little bit, getting a little bit bigger, stronger, in better shape. For him, it was probably more of like a pace and cardiovascular thing.
Okay.
But what he was really great at is he took on the role. He was our fourth line center. Yes. And he took on that role. He built some really great chemistry at the time. We had, Yannick Turcotte was playing with him on the left side, and it was either a Blake Biondi or a Gleb Cherkozov on the right side. And they really built an identity on that line, so much so that when Ivan was reassigned, it took us probably a good 2 weeks to get over his absence. Like, we missed him. And, we said it in the coach's office, like, man, like, we missed that physical presence. We missed that little bit of ability to create some offense on our fourth line, because we didn't have a lot of depth then, right? Yeah. We're almost a whole different team now compared to then. Yeah. So he really brought that, and he had a lot of good around the net skill and some good vision from below the goal line. He showed that in the rookie tournament, especially. But ultimately, we as an organization needed him to be more than a fourth line center. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think it's fantastic that he got those reps. It's fantastic that he showed that grit and that physicality and that willingness. And it's great. And no surprise, he's tearing it up offensively now in a league where he can do that. So the goal is to get him to a spot where he's doing that in the American League, hopefully eventually in the NHL, where he's now got that fourth line attitude with top line ability. Yeah,
that's great.
Almost like a Russian Tom Wilson. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's far-fetched to say that he could do that, at least in the American League. So I'm excited for him. And we, he there was a lot of learning that he had to do, both in a cultural side and a hockey side, but it was really good for him. And I think that's a big part of his success he's having now in Charlottetown.
Yeah. And he gets to spend time with pros and learn how to be a pro and understand, what it's going to take to, be successful in the American League and then, of course, the NHL. Interesting thing with Ivan Ryabkin, at a pre-draft podcast we did, he was one of the players I was really hyping and said, I hope we get Ryabkin. And so I was ecstatic when the Canes were able to do so, and I think he's got a huge ceiling. So I'm excited to hear some of the good words about Ivan. You mentioned Gleb Cherkozov, and Gleb just had a new baby, so that's exciting.
He did.
Hey, a couple of years ago at the Prospect Showcase, I just could not believe Gleb. He had just such a great showcase. He had 4 goals. He had a hat trick one game. I was watching him and I said, man, this guy's ready to tear it up. And I just loved what he was doing. And I've been kind of waiting and anxious and just hoping that, and I know he had some injuries last year and it was kind of a setback, but I'm hoping he can find his mojo because I really loved what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, It's a little bit similar to a Noah Gunler situation. Like, we know what his assets are and his strengths are. Like, he's got a really good shot. He shoots in volume. He's a really high Corsi guy. And he's strong. Like, he has a strong body. He's very thick.
Right.
It's just little details in his game that need to continue to get better, but more so be more consistent, because he's had some really great performances this year where you start to feel like he's turning the corner on it. Like, he had one game sticks to mind against Rockford where he was just a menace. Like, he was one shift alone, he had like 4 hits.
Wow.
He was shooting everything at the net. He hit the bar. He scored a goal. He was doing it all. But now it's getting him to a point where he could string games together consistently. And that's a little bit of like continuing to work on his body. We kind of hit the reset button on him this year. Like, I feel like this year is his true rookie year. Last year he played a total of 20 games, but it was separated between 2 injuries with the big gaps in between games. So, he's gotten some more opportunity this year. I know he's in and out of the lineup right now. Obviously, we're pretty deep and we have a lot of options, but he's just got to continue to work on his habits, and he's shown the ability to do things right. So that's the promising thing. It's now just connecting the why to the results, and getting him to do it every game. And it is similar to Noah Gunler. I'd be really curious to see how he approaches the rest of this season going into next season,
right,
and seeing where that growth gets to. So, he's got ability for sure. He's got ability. It's just about putting it all together for him right now.
Well, I mean, Gleb's still only 21 years old, so he's definitely a player that's got some runway. Sure.
That's what I mean. Like, these guys are really young, so it's easy to judge them quickly. And just real quickly, I won't take up too much time with this, but since we're talking about unsung heroes, Nikita Pavlichev is such a huge kind of asset for us in the development of these young Russian guys. When you talk about Ivan and Nuchev and Cherkozov, and not because he speaks Russian, that obviously is a huge help, but Nikita is pretty much assimilated to the North American culture and the more North American style. He played college hockey here. He played minor hockey here. So his approach with these guys is not so much coddling them as a fellow Russian, is pushing them to learn English, learn how to play the style of hockey to find success here. And on top of him being a very valuable asset to us as a player, I think he's really helped fast track some of these guys in getting to that point where this is how it's done here. So I have to give him his flowers on that when we're talking about unsung heroes, because he's been real helpful for us.
No, I should have brought Nikita up as well. The last young stud I wanted to talk about, I know you've been saying this on some other podcasts, singing the praises of this young man, and that's Domenick Fensore. He's out there playing some big minutes, and I think you said this on some other podcasts too, that he's playing more than what you might have expected. But he's continuing to grow, and he's a guy that when I watched him, and I saw him, of course, in some of the exhibition games and so on, he's cool as a cucumber. Holy man,
yeah, he really is. He has a very nonchalant way of approaching life, which I think can be a real benefit at times. It doesn't get too high or get too low in any scenario. So I think that really keeps him level. Yeah. He definitely was fast-tracked early in the year. And again, I mentioned Gavin Bayreuther. That played a big part of him, coupling him with a guy playing the NHL that had been there as a prospect before, that could cover him a little bit, was really helpful for Bedinka's early season development. He's long, he's big, he's got some offensive flair. He can make plays and jump up in the play. One of his strengths coming in was his ability to break pucks out. And because he's cool as a cucumber, he can take pressure and make those plays and make those tape-to-tape passes to advance the play out of our zone. He's getting better with getting used to the game density, the dimensions of the rink, and the physicality of the American Hockey League game. It's really interesting with these young guys, and it happened with Alexei Hamilsalmi last year. We just played our 48th game of the season.
Right.
I think Domenick's played 45. That is the maximum games he's ever played in his career. So now the next threshold is pushing him through that, because his body feels like he's just played a full season.
He's done.
And you look at the month of March and the couple weeks in April, like we got 24 games left before we enter into another season of the playoffs, where his body would just be now getting ready for playoffs.
Right.
So that's where like you really got to kind of push these guys through, develop their strength, keep their minds on the right path, because it happens quite often with European prospects and even some college prospects when they hit that 40 to 45 game mark. That's what they're accustomed to. Now, thankfully, I think because of his size and the incredible shape that he's in, and the strength and conditioning program that he's been on with Jack Rinzel here in Chicago, I think he's going to fight through it a little bit. I think he's going to have some ebbs and flows, but I think it's going to level off to a point where he's going to be able to handle it. So we're excited for that, and he's definitely done well, and he's very open to teaching, and that's all you can ask for as a coach.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. We have the trade deadline just around the corner, and I wanted to bring this up with you because I thought it would be fun. In our podcast this week, we really felt the Canes were going to go for a home run. And the question is, if they do that, how does it affect Chicago? What's your thinking right now as you go into the deadline?
I mean, it's I've been around the game long enough and have enough years in the American League where I know that anything is a possibility at the trade deadline. Obviously the macro picture is always for what's best for the Carolina Hurricanes,
right?
And that includes everything, not just the trade deadline, but even lineup decisions that we make here. We want to win, we want to develop, but everything is with the lens of what's the best for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yes, of course.
We understand that as Carolina Hurricanes employees, so we know, and we would love nothing more than for the Carolina Hurricanes to take advantage of their window to win a Stanley Cup, right? So that might be at the expense of our roster. I've been there before. When I worked for the Detroit Red Wings and I was in Grand Rapids, we had a really fine rookie who's made a nice career for himself in Calle Yarncroc. And we had a veteran down with us in Patrick Eves. So, from an American League perspective, you got Patrick Eves, you got Calle Yarncroc. Wow, like we're 24 games away from the playoffs, and then overnight they're both gone, and the Red Wings got David Legwan, the fourth line center. And they got eliminated in the first round. So
we're in Nashville, or where was Legwan?
It was to Nashville, right? So, not a very exciting trade, but that's what they thought they needed. And it didn't work out. They got eliminated in the first round, and then Legwan signed with Ottawa after that. But
I think I remember that.
Sometimes that's the price you got to pay. So we're ready for it. What we're excited about is the group we have right now, and if it changes next week, we'll be excited about that group that we have at that time. It'll be an opportunity for guys to step up. You don't know what other pieces of the trade are. There's something that comes back that's an American League piece. The Calle Yarncroc, David Legwan trade, that wasn't the case, but sometimes things go both ways. If you get caught up like overly worrying about that, the American Hockey League is a really tough environment for you because, we're talking specifically trade deadline, but this stuff happens every week. An injury, a recall. Like I told Nick on the previous podcast I did with Canes Prospects, the American Hockey League is the middle lane, right? There's the most action in and out. Just like when you're driving on the highway, there's the fast lane on the left, that's the NHL. And then there's the on-ramp on the right, which is like the ECHL. And then in the middle, everyone's trying to either get all the way to the right through you or all the way to the left through you. So if you can't handle the possibility of your lineup changing, you shouldn't be coaching in the American Hockey League. So We're ready for anything.
Sure.
As long as it's a good organizational move, we'll be happy to see how well the Canes can do in the playoffs. And we know that we have enough depth and a lot of great players here that we can make some noise with guys in or out. We missed Bradley for a number of games. We won a lot of games. We missed, we missed Charles Alexis Legault for 35 games. They won a lot of games. So
whoever needs throw him for a bunch.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's a testament to our group. So I don't want to see any of these guys go from a personally selfish reason, not for wins and losses, just because I genuinely love these guys and I love working with them on a daily basis. But anytime they get an opportunity that's better for their careers too, I hate it when Scott Morrow got traded this past summer. It hurt me inside because I built such a rapport with him.
Sure.
But at the same time, I was overjoyed by the fact that he was going to get a real good look with the New York Rangers. So, those are little victories that come along with every situation. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We're about a week and a half away or a week away. So
yeah. We're all in pins and needles. That'll be fun. Let's wrap up with a brief discussion on what's ahead. You've got a busy month in March. We'll talk about March, and I know you've got April as well. And you got a couple of games against Grand Rapids. I wanted to mention them specifically because, Grand Rapids has just been incredible. And one of the things that Andrew and I have talked about with Grand Rapids is the defensive core. I mean, they're just incredible, right? Like you got Gustafsson, Lagesson, Mitchell, Hall. I mean, these are all pros. They played a lot of hockey in the NHL. And then you got some other younger guys, Tuomisto and Wielander. So they've got a heck of a defense, right? And you look at that, and they've got Sebastian Cossa and the other guy that's in goal for them. They're tremendous. And you sit back and say, how are you going to do that? Well, wait a minute. Look at your D-core. Ha! I think we're going to have a conversation here. I mean, when you got Fensore, Valimaki, Legault, Foote, Nystrom, Badinka, Hemus, I can go up and down the list. You can go up against those guys, and you got a goaltender right now that's standing on his head. So I think you guys are in a good situation here.
Yeah, we think so too. I think, obviously we're built a lot differently than they are. They're very veteran heavy. They have a lot more American League and NHL games than we do.
Yes.
I think they have more NHL games on their roster than we do American League games on our roster. So it's and their payroll is a lot higher than ours. So we're just two different kinds of teams. What I do know is I don't think there's a single team in the American Hockey League that's played them better than us. Our record against them is 2-2-3.
Right.
Now their record against us is 5-1-1.
Right.
Because we
got the wins and
we lost a bunch of shootout games to them or overtime losses, but there's no team in the American League that's played them better than us. We think we match up really well against them.
Yeah,
we have a lot of confidence against them. We play well in their building. A lot of times that we've played them, we've played the first night there, and that's usually where we've gotten our most points against them. And then the second night, they come to us on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And, that's where we've lost our points against them. And, they have the luxury of they're sitting 2 or 3 veterans a night, right? Where we don't have that. We're the same roster that plays on Friday typically is the same one that plays on Saturday. So, we are confident that if we get into a playoff series with them, that we're going to show really well. We think our youth will be an advantage. We think our ability to take over games in the second and third period will be an advantage.
Yes.
But in saying all that, we know how dangerous they are. We know how good their goaltending is. We know how well coached they are. So we have a high level of respect for them.
Sure.
But it's really exciting what kind of playoff round that could be. And it's been discussed in our room like that's who we're going to face to get to the Western Conference Final. Right.
Yes.
So, we're excited about that possibility, but it's what they're doing is unprecedented right now. It's crazy. They could, I haven't looked at scores obviously because I've been chatting with you, but they could clinch a playoff spot tonight.
Yeah.
And
that's insane.
It's February 25th. So it's that's crazy. We thought we were on a fast track to clinch a playoff spot maybe mid-March, which is early, but that's next level stuff. But that's why you got to play the games, right? So we're excited, and our guys have a lot of confidence in them, and we hope it does happen. We hope we win our first round match. We hope they win their first round match, because that's who we want to go through. We want to beat the best to be the best. So.
For sure. And of course, if the roster stays materially as it is right now, you will be in a better situation than the other times you've met them, right? So you're going to be stronger on the blue. You're going to be deeper on the forward side. And of course, you're very solid net with Caden Primo and Amir Meftikov. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting.
It'll be a good series if we get there.
Well, Andrew Rinaldi was covering Grand Rapids previously as well. So he covered both the Griffins and the Wolves. So it was kind of fun. We've had a lot of, spirited discussions along the way. And of course, it's going to be tough. But, it's like the Canes. It's a microcosm of the Hurricanes, right? So, you're going to have to – there's going to be some teams you're going to have to beat and find your way to get out of the conference and then go up against whoever it is in the other one. So anyway, it's exciting. Any last words from you, Spiros?
No, I mean, I love your coverage. I really appreciate guys like you and Andrew and, Nick Bass, who we mentioned earlier. Anytime that you can kind of open the fans' eyes to the future Canes and the work that we're doing in Chicago, it's a real benefit to those guys, because they're guys with dreams that are working really hard to accomplish them, and they really want to be like every day they work to become Carolina Hurricanes, and we hope that some of them do. So there's lots to be excited about, and we appreciate the support, because the more the more they get promoted, whether it's through a tweet or a podcast, the more their name is out there, and it does improve their chances. So appreciate you, Tom, and people like you. So it's been great questions. I love talking about our guys.
This has been just great, and thanks for spending time with me and talking about the Wolves, Spiros. I know you're busy; you've got lots on your plate, so. I'm just delighted you could spend time and share some of this with Canes fans and Wolves fans. So it's great. For those of you who've been watching or listening, obviously Spiros and I are delighted you spent time with us. It was a little bit longer tonight, and I think we covered a lot of ground. So I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you like this episode, please press the like button. If you have any comments or questions, please put those in the comments section. And of course, if you want to be alerted of future episodes of Storm Tracker, please press the subscribe and the bell buttons, and you'll be made aware just as soon as they're available. As always, we thank you so much for spending time with us, and look forward to getting together with you real soon right here on Storm Tracker.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends for everything with the Canes you need. Storm Tracker.